5. We are live. Welcome back to the Chicken Box, everybody. It is Thursday. Something to something. Yes, December the 7th. Sometimes you get so caught up that you just know days or you just know dates because everything seems to just run in a circle, in a cycle. And sometimes you need just a moment to just breathe. The Thanksgiving, the holiday feeling comes in the air, and all of a sudden it's Christmas and then it's New Year's. So it is giving season, and we are making history here at the oldest Black business in Maryland, 131 years. Yes, the Afro American newspaper has been informing, inspiring, and educating people of color through the lens of Baltimore and Washington to the world for over 131 years. And you have just tuned into the Chicken Box. I feel like I'm giving an infomercial today, but it's real talk, y'all. I have with me Ashley, reigning from DC, holding down the news in the district. How are you this morning, afternoon? Where are we?
Pretty well. I'm doing pretty well on this rainy day in DC.
Yeah, it's almost like you want to put on some jazz music and you just want to put on some smooth jazz and just kind of dim the lights a little bit and get your mind clear. Dr. Draper, our fearless leader at the Afro, I'm glad you could join us today on the Chicken Box. How are you?
I'm well, impeccable. Maybe we should explain to people why we call this a chicken box. I know you're gonna get there, and the different generations and all that good stuff.
That was an awkward moment of silence. Listen, this is live. This is a live stream. You know, a lot of people podcast and then they tape it and they make it appear to be live. We are really live. So if you've never tuned in before and you're not from the Baltimore area, the Chicken Box, of course, is full wings and fries. But here is where you get to stand on your truth and speak your truth about whatever it is. Do we have to agree with you? No, but it's your truth. So when you get on the box, you are talking your truth. And it's powered by, of course, the Afro American newspaper. Maryland's oldest Black business and the third oldest Black business in the nation. We have a great topic tonight. We are making history with a partner of ours. We call it Afro Charities. It's kind of like a little brother, little sister, little family member. But they have been around for 60 years doing amazing work in the community. And we have their executive director on with us today, Savannah Woods. Hey, Savannah, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic. Glad to have you here. We always see the wonderful work. Some people have maybe never even heard of Afro Charities, so I'm going to give the floor to you. We're going to read this long, extensive bio, but we have Savannah here, and she said, you know what? She can intro herself, and we said, have at it.
I'll tell you who I am. I'll do it for you. Thank you for having me on. My name is Savannah Wood. I am a fifth generation descendant of the Afro American newspaper's founders. So it is all in the family in that regard. Afro Charities is 60 years old as of November 15th of this year. So we're celebrating a big milestone birthday. And I've been executive director of Afro Charities since 2019. So it's been about 4.5 years of big learning curves and big vision. So we have a great big vision for how we're bringing this organization into its next decade and its next 60 years. And we're excited to just share that a little bit more with everybody today. I'll wrap up in a second, but I just wanted to let you know that when it was founded 60 years ago by members of the Afro American newspaper's board of directors, it was mainly to administer some programs that the Afro had already been doing. So the Afro has always been a leader in really taking care of our communities. And so Mrs. Santa, which many of you might know about, which is actually going to be happening again next Saturday. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And Afro Clean Block are two programs that the Afro had already been administering. And so in 1963, some of the board of directors got together and established Afro Charities to administer those projects and to take them forward. And so that's the genesis of the organization. And now, all these years later, we've added to that, and we are managing the Afro News's extensive archives that document all 131 years that the Afro has been in publication and then some. And so it's a really rare and rich resource of historical material that we're super honored to help take care of.
Man, if you just tuned in, welcome, Savannah, to the Chicken Box, and thank you for if it wasn't for preserving some of this history, they wouldn't know. There was no way they could look back and find some of the amazing things that our ancestors did just because someone thought to chronicle it by starting a media company back in 1892. It still can be mind-blowing. If you just tuned in, happy holidays to you. This is that season. It's the giving season, and we're talking with our friends from Afro Charity, and they have some big news that they're going to announce before the end of the show. But Ashley Fields, you're kind of new to the team. What do you think about when you think about the archives or just the preservation of history?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And to be able to go and look at stuff that was happening over 100 years ago that wasn't being documented by other media sources that the Afro has is so important. And it's something that we know people need to see today in order to be able to look forward into the future. So we know that Soledad O'Brien just did a tour of the archives, and many more people have come to see all that the Afro has chronicled. And I just wanted to ask, what's going on with the project happening, where the archives will be stored in the future, and how do you think that will, add to the community's ability to learn about what's been going on, not just in Baltimore, not just in Washington, but across the world?
Thank you so much for that question. So the collection right now is being stored at the Maryland State Archives. They have very generously provided some space for us to kind of hole up for now, but it is technically a private site. It's a repository. It's not a public facing archive. And so when we are able to give these tours, it's only to a limited number of people. So the project that we're working on right now that will be a real game changer is establishing a permanent home and research center for this collection in the heart of Old West Baltimore in Upton. So there's a property called the Upton Mansion that has been city owned for some time, I believe since like the mid 1950s. It was left vacant in 2006, and we're working to reestablish that site as a cultural hub for not only the neighborhood, not only the city, but really for the world. We think it'll be an international destination for the study of Black life, and who better to document that than the Afro over the past 131 years. And so, like you mentioned, there's things in the collection that other newspapers were not documenting. So what we're doing right now with Afro Charities is getting this collection really well organized so that when people do show up at the Upton Mansion to do research, they know exactly what they're getting out of those folders when they make their requests, so that they can use their time in the research center to the best of their ability. So we're really excited to see what kinds of projects like the Soledad O'Brien piece come out of this new access to the collection, and what new connections we might make about Black history and the way that it relates to how we live in the world today.
Absolutely. If you just tuned in, we're making history again. We've been part of history. We've chronicled your history. Look us up. You never know. A family member might be in the archives. It might be a picture of you. It's definitely a picture of me when I had hair. Don't look that but it's things in the archives. It's not just, sometimes it's like, okay, is it just famous people? Like sometimes media just always just looks for, the celeb person to do, but the Afro cares about the community. So you'll find your auntie in there. You'll find your uncle. You'll find when they started their business, when they got married, even sometimes when they even passed away. So, and everything in between, of course, it's an extensive, I heard at the anniversary, Savannah, they said we are the largest.
Yeah, one of the largest Black press archives in the entire world. So wow. It's really a big deal, and such an amazing resource that not enough people know about, So it's right here in Baltimore. It was created right here in Baltimore, but the extent of it, the reach of the collection, there's documentation from World War II. There's documentation from all over the world, really, about Black people's experiences living on this globe. It's not just even in America. So there's really so much great stuff in there. And so I have to mention, since we're in this season of giving, that part of the reason that we wanted to come on today is to share with everybody that we need your help in building this new research center for the collection. So we have a campaign going right now. You can become an Upton Mansion groundbreaker by giving or pledging, but we're going to follow up on that pledge, $500 or more. I'm going to say or more one more time. If you have the means to give more, please do, to our campaign to establish this permanent home and research center for the collection. So we have a goal to raise $350,000 by the end of the year. We're at about 160 right now with a little room there. So if you can make a contribution or a pledge, we'd love to count you in the number of our Upton Mansion groundbreakers. Those pledges, those dollars will help us unlock $3.3 million in equity. So you can think of $1 basically having the effect of 10 if you can give to our campaign by the end of this year.
I think
go for it.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think our producer put the donation link in the chat as well, so people could take a look there.
I think as importantly, and hey Jewel, hey Byron, I see a couple of our friends have joined on today. I think as importantly, and I'm gonna go back to Savannah to describe the area of Upton, but we will also be able to make an economic impact in a part of Baltimore City. It's been under revitalization. It is the largest historically Black federally recognized Black district in the United States. It is the place where Cab Calloway lived, and Billie Holiday lived, and Thurgood Marshall lived, and the Afro got started. And so we're going to be an economic engine in that area, creating new jobs, bringing resources to a part of Baltimore that at once was a thriving mecca for African-American creativity and for churches and for community to come together. And a lot of people have said to us, what, you're going where? To Upton? Somebody has to do that. If we're going to revitalize our neighborhoods, we just can't say, oh, I hope that neighborhood gets revitalized one day. Then we look up and it's not revitalized, it's gentrified. And the people who were there from the beginning cannot even afford to move into that neighborhood. We don't want that to happen in Upton. And so we're kind of putting our faith and our finances where our mouths are and going back to those roots to revitalize what was once a thriving community in old West Baltimore. And it's like that throughout the United States. We all have an old West or old East, North, South. We saw it. We're seeing it in Detroit. We have seen what happened in Washington, D.C. Those primarily African-American neighborhoods of one time are no longer like that. You can't afford to park your car in D.C. in some places that were once thriving African-American communities. You may be able to walk through, but you can't live there.
All that's left are the signs. I mean, I walk past the old Afro-American offices that were located in DC just a few blocks from my home each day. And so it's disappointing to see that all we have left are signs to reminisce on the community and the culture that was there. When we're talking about the mansion, I just can see, school kids also coming in and, being able to read the paper and see, what Sam Lacey chronicled about Major League Baseball being integrated and many, many more stories. There's so many book bans that are going on right now and, legislation to prevent us from really going back and understanding how we've been oppressed, but also how we've succeeded after that oppression. And so, I mean, it's just amazing work going on at the Afro, especially, with the economic and, social justice efforts.
We are a beacon. We're going to be a light on the hill in that community. We're going to shed so much great light at that mansion. I cannot wait, but we need your help, ladies and gentlemen. Boys and girls, if you're not in school, we are owned and operated by African Americans for over 131 years. Nobody controls our news. Nobody tells us what we can and cannot do, but we all we got. And so if we don't support each other, who are we? That's all I'm going to say. Who are we? All right. So let's show us a short video to just give you just a little more detail on the project. Taryn, beautiful. Thank you.
Since 1892, the Afro-American newspapers have been documenting world history from a Black perspective.
In my mind, it was one of the best written briefs I'd ever looked at. I thought it was a perfect remark. And I've told all the press people, of course, that I can't comment on it, which is true. But I mean, you can go all out on it.
Since 1892, the Afro-American newspapers have been documenting world history from a Black perspective. The paper was founded here in Baltimore, and my great-great-grandparents were the ones who really got it off the ground.
John Henry Murphy Sr., my great-grandfather, who was a former enslaved person, at the age of 52 years old, borrowing $200, purchased the name Afro and a printing press at an auction, when reportedly less than 2% of the African-American population could read. And so I am fourth generation, but we have up to 6 generations now working in the family business.
We are the longest running family-owned Black newspaper in the country, continuously operated, that is. Afro Charities was founded in 1963 to partner with the Afro newspaper on a couple of charitable initiatives in the neighborhood. But recently, we've expanded our mission to include joint care of the Afro's extensive archives. Afro archives include 3 million photographs, thousands of letters, rare audio recordings, and a lot of objects that haven't even been cataloged yet. And what we're working to do through Afro Charities is to preserve this history moving forward. Afro Charities partners with the Afro-American newspapers to take on this large collection of archives and try to make them more accessible to the public.
Mainstream news has not always focused on the Black community. The Afro, that's our niche. And not just the Afro, but Black newspapers across the country. We are a repository of historical information.
So a couple of the ways that we create access include commissioning artists to make new work inspired by the archives, or producing publications and public programs that also bring the history that's in the collection to the present, really animating the archives and bringing them to life.
For example, my friend Margot Lee Shetterly, the author of Hidden Figures, her next book is based on Baltimore. The Norfolk Journal and Guide was the Black newspaper that really opened up her eyes to the Black women who worked for NASA. In turn, as she's writing this new book on Baltimore, the Afro is one of her primary resources.
One of the things that we're working on that's a major project around access is creating a permanent home for the archives. So we're redeveloping a building that will be the home and research center for this collection. The Upton Mansion is a historic building in the nation, actually. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. And so we're coming in to really breathe new life into this building. It's located in the heart of Old West Baltimore. So for us, it's really coming home to this site. And we're excited about that. We're excited to animate it with this collection, as well as the day-to-day operations of the newspaper.
The Afro is a vehicle that belongs to the people, really. It may have been founded by a family, but it really belongs to the people who we write about, the people who we cover, the people who we advocate for. You can find stories in our archives that you can't find other places.
With your support, the Afro is going to be here for another 129 years if we do it right. And of course, we have to say for another 131 years now. So that's a little dated at the end, but you know, we're really looking for longevity. We're looking for longevity and making sure that these records are available for people way into the future.
Can you just say, wow? I mean, you can get caught up in just the visuals in black and white, and your eyes, you can kind of just, I don't know if it's just me. I kind of just felt like I can insert myself into that picture. Like, you know, like you really went in a time machine, you know, all the movies you used to see. And I know you worked there.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You could get lost in a box easily. You know, you open up one box and you're looking for one thing and you end up in a totally different direction than you had planned to be in. So, you know, those types of moments and those discoveries are,
I mean, just think of the amount of pictures you have on your phone. Like if you open your phone, you might see thousands of pictures or whatever you see there now. You're talking about 3 million pictures that mostly were developed in a dark room.
That's right. That's right. Thinking
It
about all
wasn't.
the
It wasn't a
labor that
little
went into
digital camera. This was the real deal. I'm sure every iteration of camera was used, even to this day. I mean, even like you think about your iPhone and the first model. What are we on, 15 or 16 now? But if you go back those 131 years, 3 million pictures. I guess what was the one with the smoke? You had
Oh
to.
yeah, we had old press cameras with the 4x5 negatives. If you imagine carrying that around to different places to get the photo, it's just there's a lot of work that went into that, and then to produce the paper over and over, like just all of that was in house also. So the actual production of the newspaper, we just found a video recently that showed from beginning to end how the paper was produced, and you see the forms that are made and the rolls of paper coming into the Utah Street location. So, and today it's not like it's much different. It's the technology is different, but that just means that you have more to keep up with. So the industry of it continues into the present.
Right.
I wanted to say a quick note about what we heard at the very beginning of the video. So we found in the collection, it's called a SoundScriber disc, and it's kind of like a green floppy recording disc that just said Thurgood Marshall on it. And I said, well, what do you mean Thurgood Marshall? So we were able to find some money to digitize those that SoundScriber, and that's what you're hearing at the beginning of the short film is Thurgood Marshall talking with longtime Afro publisher and editor and son of the founder Carl Murphy, literally about the Brown versus Board case. Mm-hmm. Talking about how he wants to make sure that the Afro gets the story. There's a long-standing relationship there. So it's really just those are the types of things that are in this collection, and that's what will become accessible in a more meaningful way once we move everything over to the Upton Mansion. So when we ask people to become an Upton Mansion groundbreaker with us by giving or pledging $500 or more by the end of this calendar year, that's what we're working towards, is making sure that that collection is available to people to learn the intricacies and the details of how these types of movements came about. How did Brown versus Board even come about? We have that story we have it. In an intimate way.
Yep, in an intimate way. And I want to say something about photographs. Most of the photographs that you see now in print, it's a single photograph that was submitted and selected for publication or posting online or on social. What's in our archives, a photographer may have taken 100 photos and only 5 got used. So the other 95 are still there. So that means that there are photographs in the archives that have never been seen.
And then thinking about it, even from how you guys had a weekly paper in multiple Black cities that had a thriving Black community, Philadelphia, DC, you talked about Richmond, Virginia. I mean, that's a large span. And I wanted to ask you, Savannah, you're talking about digitization. Will there be efforts in the future to make sure that the archives are digitized and so people can access them that way too?
That's a great question. So there's, as Kevin mentioned, and as we said in the video, there's approximately 3 million photographs in the collection, which is a huge number. So we did set up some trials last year in how to digitize those images really efficiently and collect the data, because there's so much rich information on the back of the photos. The caption that was in the newspaper is there. So it has people's names, their ages, sometimes their addresses, all of this really interesting info. So we found a way to kind of pass through that and figure out how to collect that information using optical character recognition, using these tools that exist to extract that, and then we'll clean it up by hand later. But once we move into the Upton Mansion, one of the things that we'll have there is a major digitization room. And it's not only going to be for digitizing the photos that are in the collection, but we'll have days where people can bring their own materials in and learn how to use the equipment with us so that they can digitize their own materials as well. In addition to that, as we're digitizing the Afro's photos, we really imagine that as an opportunity to make that programmatic. So that we'll have, young people working with senior citizens who may have lived some of these experiences, talking together about the history that's in these photographs as they're being digitized and made more widely available. So it's kind of a mix. Right now, you can access most of the Baltimore newspapers through ProQuest, which if you have a Pratt Library card, you can access that even from the comfort of your home. And then if you wanted to see some of the photographs, you would have to reach out to us and we can help with that. But once we're actually in place at the Upton Mansion, physical files will be there so people can come and do research. And down the line, we will be working with the Afro to establish a more robust digital database for the images as well.
Absolutely. So if you just jumped in and we went across your line, we are having a history making day today. Afro Charities is building a brand new home in West Baltimore. Yeah, a lot of y'all saw West Baltimore in the wire. Just imagine that plighted area now turning into a beautiful place for thriving new business and education and history transformation and just caring about the community, because we all we got. I'm gonna keep saying that before we go. And when
I have to shout out a couple of groundbreakers who are here right now. So I know KP, you are one of them. I know Dr. Draper is one of them. I see Alexis Ojeda Brown in the comments and Dion Moses, all groundbreakers who have contributed or pledged $500 or more to our Upton Mansion campaign.
Let's say that again. Pledge. Okay, listen. This is what a pledge is, right? Dr. Draper, you agree to do something.
I got a pledge.
You got something. You have something on your heart that you want to give. Maybe
I'm saying a pledge. A pledge is a promise, right?
Promise to pay.
And you can do it over multiple years.
How many years?
3 max. So let's say you determine that you're going to do the minimum 500, which I hope you won't do the minimum 500, but you're going to do it over 3 years, right? That's 500 divided by 36, whatever that number is, right? It's under, I don't know, I'm
gonna do the math just to make it seem so easy.
I'm gonna make it $12.40 a month. I don't know, that's in the top of my head. $13.
Right.
$13.80 a month. You can put your card in, like, we put our cards up for everything. Your card is in Cash App, your card is in PayPal, your card is in, your card is up in Apple Pay, your card is everywhere. So you can put your card up, make sure that the expiration date is longer than your 3-year pledge. And you put your card up, it'll come out automatically, $13.80 over 3 years. However, we know when you can do better, we ought to do better. And some of us, can we tell the truth? Some of us are going to give more than that to the IRS because we held on to it to the end of the year. And they're not going to give you any recognition.
Some of us are going to give more to it than Uber Eats because you're not cooking no more for your kids.
Some to Uber Eats and some just a plain old Uber, depending on where you're living. If you're in DC like Ashley, you can take one trip in Uber and spend more than $13.80. So we're hoping, and let me tell you something else too. It's about the sheer volume of people who also believe that this is important. And so it's not just about being a groundbreaker. We'd have to have a whole lot of $500 groundbreakers to make it to $350,000 in the next 2 weeks.
A good poly man just said he's going to make a pledge. Anthony Gross, one of the best commercial real estate.
Anthony, we love it.
Call him Tony Gross back in the day. But thank you very much, my brother, for being a part of this groundbreaking history.
I think as importantly, and I was talking to someone this week, Ashley hit on it. We don't know our history. And so we depend on what's in the little bit that's in the history books that are maybe in school that want to start with Martin Luther King. But they're not going to tell you about Marcus Garvey. And they're not going to tell you really, they tell you anything about Jesse Owens, which is not that long ago, it'll be what he won in the Olympics. The Afros sent somebody to those Olympics. And so we have firsthand accounts. We had war correspondents in 1945 that we had 7 Black journalists in the Army in 1945 on the ground who wrote what it was like. And it's not like what you've seen in history books. So anyway, so things like that are there in the archives. And I want to reiterate something that Savannah said. Each of us has things in our own archives at home too. Come on, y'all, we got them boxes. Grandmama left and we like, what am I do with that stuff? So we need to learn how to kind of preserve that for generations following.
And we're gonna have the facility to help you do that.
That's right.
That's gonna be there as a service for you because it's usually one person in the family who can organize everybody to come to the family reunion or to get the pictures. Whoever that one person is, if it's not you, call them up and tell them the Afro, Maryland's oldest Black business, is doing a new thing in West Baltimore. The link is down there. You can pledge. You don't have to give the money today, but we're asking because sometimes you don't ever get if you don't ask.
So I want to say, if you want to make a pledge, go to afrocharities.org. And the first link that you'll see at the top is Make History with Us. It's also at the bottom of your screen right now. If you are ready to donate right now, we have the direct link in the chat. So you can click on that and make your donation right now. You can do either of those things at afrocharities.org. So that's there for you. And we hope that you'll contribute to this project to help make history with us and become a groundbreaker. And groundbreakers will get special invitations to events that we'll have. There's all kinds of little perks for the groundbreakers, but most importantly, you'll be helping us make history by establishing this research center in the heart of Old West Baltimore, where the Afro got its start, and making this collection really accessible to the people who are represented in it, which I think is a big deal.
Let me ask you this, Savannah, also on afro.org, are there instructions about how to go into the ProQuest collection?
Yes, on afrocharities.org, if you go to the archives page, there are instructions there for ProQuest. There's contact information. If you're looking for something specific, you can fill out a form that's on the site that will go directly to our archivist, and they can help you navigate and find what you need.
Absolutely. Look, the Afro Charities is a family member. They're two separate entities. So everything is what? Tax deductible, right?
That's right.
Every donation. Companies, you need to save some taxes. At the end of the year, you got to do something with some of this money. Think of Afro Charities as you go through. Go ahead.
You know, I got one more thing. I always got one more thing.
This is your show.
The other thing I'll mention
today. Go ahead.
Is that a lot of companies also do a match. So if you, as an employee, make a contribution, check and see if your employer will do a match, because sometimes they do. And that'll double your impact right there, which is a huge benefit for us. So that's all.
Every community comes on. I'm seeing all the commercials now. Give $19 today to the Shriners Hospital. Do this, do X, Y, Z. You rarely see an African-American ass come across the television. And I'm not trying to say that there's a difference when you give, but it is a difference if we don't take control of it in our community. Because as you can see from the media and the history, that they don't wake up and think about our community. It's up to us as we do. Now, you can't give if you're not doing good. You understand? So the reason you do good is so that you can give. You understand what I'm saying? So if you can, whatever it is that you can give, and I believe everybody on here can give $500 in 3 years. Let me tell you how. You see this thing right here? If you lose it tomorrow, whether you have 500 or not, you will have a new phone tomorrow. That's just a fact. You will find $500 tomorrow, which you probably not even gonna get the newest phone for $500 for what they cost, but you're gonna find the money. So sow a seed. It's a charitable donation, and you're sowing a seed on good ground. I rarely ask for money, but it's for a great cause. And I think it's going to make a difference, not only in the community, but in our family. Just the Afro is on the cutting edge of technology. They're not running through our doors. Now, there has been some people who have said, yes, I believe in your dream and your vision. And they've stepped up and written a check. But we're trying to unlock another $3 million to finish the project. If anybody knows what it takes to build something, or even to get their basement remodeled, if you know what that costs, you know that it is a real heavy lift in the millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, that begs a question, though, because some of our listeners might want to know. Just can you give a high level overview, Savannah? What's the total cost of the project, and how much, when you talk about raising this, I want our viewers to know this is the last bit in.
That's right. That's right. It's a big project. We're not only restoring a historic building, a historic mansion that has been vacant for I think it's 17 years at this point. We're also creating an annex at the back of this building that will house state-of-the-art archival storage. It'll have a new gallery in there. It'll have a beautiful programming space there and a rooftop deck so people can come on the west side and see downtown views from the top of this hill. It's going to be beautiful and really a community resource. And the project itself is $13.3 million as a total budget. So where we are right now is there's a bit of a gap. So we are anticipating $3.3 million in new market tax credit equity. But in order to unlock that money, we need to raise an additional total number of $1.5 million. What we need by the end of this year is $350,000. So that's where we're asking you to contribute to that. We're at about 160 right now. We have a couple of really great prospects to get us closer to that 350 number, but we need individual support as well. We need small business support. We need the corporate community to step up and to really come through on this project. So if you think about a total project budget of $13.3 million, and we only have 1.5 left that we need to raise, that's a big deal. It's been a heavy lift. I'll tell you that. It's been a heavy lift, but it's also been, it's been enlightening, And so part of this project, what we're looking forward to also is to share out what we've learned to other people so that this could be replicable. So what we have seen is that our commitment to this site and to this project has led other developers in the area, other Black developers in particular, to say, you know what, I want to invest too. So there's several vacant homes that are just directly across the street from where this site is. And there's already somebody who put a bid into the city to take those properties and redevelop them as single family homes because they're now also betting on Upton. If they see us coming in and saying, we're going to build this community center that will be active, they're saying, okay, that's a good bet. Somebody's coming in and stabilizing this. So we already see this investment paying off for the benefit of the neighborhood. So it is a big project, but we're on our way. We're well on our way.
Jules, thank you. And anybody else who's watching the replay who has been moved in your heart to give, thank you very much. Remember, It is tax deductible, so send it to your accountant.
That's right.
To make sure you get your credit. Man, as you were just saying it, the neighborhood is going to. Have you seen places that used to look crazy and then you drive by them now? It's a Whole Foods there. It's thriving retail. It's great housing. And it's brand new tall apartment building. I mean,
but what we've also seen is that the Black people who used to live there aren't able to be there anymore. And so one of the things that the Upton Planning Committee in particular has been emphasizing is that they want to do restoration without displacement. So finding ways to make sure that people can stay in their homes. So there's a wealth of home ownership initiatives that they've helped to organize, a Live Where You Worship initiative where you can get a grant for being in the neighborhood and purchasing a home there. They're doing things where they'll help you retrofit your house to have a separate unit so you have a little bit of income coming in to help support your payments. So there's other programs that they have where you can get money to help maintain your house. So there's a lot of different efforts happening in the neighborhood to make sure that the folks who have been here can stay, and that when the neighborhood becomes, less vacant, more vibrant, that the folks who have been here the whole time will be able to benefit from that.
I like that.
Before we move on, I just want to say this because I know some people have found it confusing in the past. The pledge is you saying, yes, I want to give. We do need a signature on it for it to count, which is why we're directing you to our website, afrocharities.org. And the first link at the top says, make history with us. On that page, you'll find the video that we shared earlier. You'll find a little bit of background. You'll have a link there where you can donate if you're ready to donate right now. And there's also a form on there that's a pledge form. And that pledge form at the very end has a place for you to leave a digital signature so that we can count your pledge as official. We need to have it signed off on so that when we go to the folks that we're working with on the finances, they know that we didn't just come up with this number, somebody else signed for it. So that's how you make your pledge official.
I have a
Absolutely.
quick question. Are people able to mail in checks?
They absolutely are.
Where
Yeah,
should they mail them to?
it's a great question. So they can mail checks directly to Afro Charities. Our address is 12 West Madison Street, Suite 201, Baltimore, Maryland, 21201. And that's also on that afrocharities.org page.
Okay.
12 West Madison. There it is. Yeah, look at y'all, fast.
Oh, don't get it mistaken. Just because
I
we've
love
been
it.
chronicling this history for 131 years, we are on the cutting edge of
Always.
technology. We are on the cutting. Listen, your archives will be going into the Afro cloud. It's going to be cloud right there in the mansion. All the pictures will not be in those boxes anymore. They will be stored.
They're gonna be in there too.
Are they
Because
going to be in the box?
we have to touch it.
Okay, there you go. The new ones are not going to be in there.
That's true. That's true.
The new ones won't be in there. Mrs. Santa. I don't know if
Oh yes.
let's talk about Mrs. Santa before we go.
But,
Savannah.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. This is one of the main programs that Afro Charities has been stewarding since 1963. This is originally an Afro News program. So we work with the Afro News team to pull this off. And every year, people send in donations to our offices to support families in need. And so this year, we're doing a celebration on Saturday, December 16th. At a place called Nomu Nomu on North Howard Street. And it'll be a fun family-filled day. So there will be presents for kids. We've received some letters already from people who have specific requests for their children. Those letters can be sent to the exact same address, although now that we're so close on this date, get it in quick if you're watching. Or you can send to Mrs. Santa at afrocharities.org. So yeah, it'll be a fun time. We're gonna have some crafting. We'll have a hot chocolate station. The Omegas have been donating bikes annually for years and years now. Many people know Miss Diane Hawker as Mrs. Santa. She will be there with us. We have Nicoletta De La Brown, who is with the Afro Charities team, stepping in as Mrs. Santa this year.
All
so
right.
It'll be a fun time, 12 to 3 on Saturday, December 16th.
Are we bringing gifts there or no?
You absolutely can bring gifts the day of. Well, we have quite a few that Diane has already collected, but we can absolutely bring gifts the day of.
Absolutely. It's no more Toys R Us, but Walmart, Target, Amazon, they got your toy for you. You don't even have to go out. You can click and get yourself. Listen, it isn't about the amount of the toy. If you want to bring a PS5 or Xbox, that's fine.
From somebody very lucky.
Right. These kids are going to play with it for a little while. and it's the simple things that they continue to play with over and over again. But if you can make it, drop off a toy. It'll bring some joy to somebody else's life. So we're going to get on the box real quick. We thank you, everybody who has tuned in today and has the heart to give. And we just kind of push you a little bit to give, but you still you have to get down in your heart really what you want to give. A warm feeling has to come and say, you know what, I want to do something. And then you're moved to do it. So hopefully after 131 years, and then all business owners, I'm going to challenge all business owners. Your business, please pledge it to be a groundbreaker. Think about it. If you started your business 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years, what you've had to go through in those 5 years. Afro Charities has been going through it for 60 years, and the Afro American newspaper has been going through it for 131 years. So if you just put that in your business brain, you can give to a good cause, because we're going to be here for you. And all businesses that give, I might be stepping up. I got the editor on. We're going to try to do a story on you, on your business. For all businesses, we want to highlight you in some kind of way for giving to Afro Charities. I might put my foot in my mouth and be talking about, Kevin, you got to call and interview him too. Hey, I'll do it. But look, that's how much I believe in Afro Charities, and I believe that we've all we got. And when you go back in those archives, when we open up, you're going to see, you're going to be blown away by the history that is inside of those archives. So we're on the box. I guess I was on the box just now. I'm off the box. I did my thing. Okay. Ashley Fields, you're on the box.
Yes.
Final thoughts
This
about.
was a great discussion. I was really excited to learn more about the archives and to see, an entity where the archives will be housed coming to life. I went to the Howard University, so we have our Moreland Spin Yarn Center. We're celebrating 100 years of excellence in January, but that's nothing compared to the 132 that we have at the Afro. And so at this time, I'm going to pledge myself $500 to Afro Charities, and I'm going to reach out to other organizations to see if they'll do the same. Especially corporations that we know can just provide that money, quickly. But if you're on this call now and, you are feeling moved or touched by this video and this message, we definitely want you guys to, share in the comments that you're going to commit or pledge to donating $500 over the course of 3 years. So I just appreciate Dr. Draper, Savannah, Impeccable, and everyone for pouring into this family-owned business. And I hope to see it last for many, many more years to come.
Thank you, Ashley. I might have to give again after that warm statement. I can do it. So, Dr. Draper.
So let me jump on the box for a minute. I want to make a point of clarification really quick. Sometimes people get confused between Afro Newspaper, Afro Charities. They're two separate yet related entities. And we at the Afro Newspapers, we've entrusted Afro Charities with caring for our most valuable asset, which are our archives. On a business front, though, we have decided we will be the anchor tenant in the Upton Mansion. When you go for funding and you go to build that kind of building, you have to have somebody step up and say, you know what, I'm going to commit to signing a lease, paying the rent. I don't know about to get it twisted. Sometimes people get it twisted. We are going to be an anchor paying tenant at Upton to help, spur the development, yes, but to say that we are committing to leasing quite a bit of the space there to make sure that it is a viable project going forward. And so, yes, we're related, but on the business side, we are the anchor tenant. And there will be, Savannah did not say that, in addition to Afro Charities and the digitization lab and all the things you described, there'll be some space for like-minded. When I say like-minded, I'm talking about community groups, businesses, to also lease some space there. So if you're interested in leasing space, then I believe there's some contact information for Savannah on afrocharities.org. She is the one that can tell you how much space will be available for lease. Is it in the historic mansion? Is it in the new part? Is it in the carriage house? Savannah is doing all of that. But I just wanted to say we have secured our space and we are the anchor tenant there. And so this is worthwhile to support across the board. And Afro Newspapers, we can't wait to get into a more permanent space ourselves. So big support.
Yeah, we're all excited. So thank you so much for being that anchor tenant, for entrusting us with your collection, and for helping just everybody have access to this rich resource. Thank you for the work that you do every day to make sure that this legacy is intact. And we are so excited to move into a place where everything's under one roof and where anybody can come and see these materials. So help us get there. Help us get there. If we can break ground in the spring, that's why you would be called a groundbreaker. We would be able to open the building in 2025.
What?
That's like tomorrow.
Right. Absolutely.
So I just need you guys to understand that getting the money that we're asking for by the end of this year puts us in position to be open soon to have access to this collection. But the longer that it takes for us to raise the remaining money, the longer the project goes, the more expensive it becomes, and the more fundraising that we have to do to make it happen. So we're trying to just get this done so that we can move forward and get on in there and welcome you in. So thank you so much for your support, and thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been a history-making moment where every day is Black History at the Afro, and you will be archived. So this recording, uh, maybe our great grandchildren might see one day. It's like they did something called a chicken box. Who's eating those things? They still eating chicken boxes anyway. We don't, never know, but it's going in there. Everything goes into the archives. But thank you, Savannah, for all of the work that you've done. Her and I are fifth generation descendants in the Afro. I don't say it a lot, but I believe it and I feel it, and everybody else who has been part of the Afro family, not just the family that started the paper, but just we're a family of families that have just come together to build this great entity for all these years, and we look forward to everything that all of the young talent is envisioning for the future. Never stop dreaming. And remember, call a senior, y'all. They want to hear from you. Don't text them. All right. They just call them and just tell them you love them. This is the season. And call your friends up, because I hear a lot of my friends are losing people. For some reason, why does it, as over the holidays, everybody got to pass away? I don't get it. But anyway, this is a season that's really sad for somebody. Call somebody up and just tell them you love them. Tell them to have a great day, and put a smile on their face. It's not all about you. Don't be selfish. You can give just a little bit, even if it's just a phone call. But if you can be a groundbreaker, let's break that ground. Until next week, God willing, the 16th, Miss Santa, bring those toys out. Come out, hang out. Can the kids come? The kids can come, right? Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we
Right.
need the kids there. There's lots of fun activities for kids. It is basically a kids event.
All right. Well, hot chocolate,
That's
we
right.
like hot chocolate too. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Ashley,
you.
Dr. Draper, and Savannah, and Taryn, our producer. Take care. Bye-bye.